feisty battle against the VCS's #1 team from a region that is more experienced with that playstyle than maybe anyone else in the world. It's a little bit unfair, I know that, but that's how it felt watching the game. Loud started so well. Yes, we've got a ton of replays. I'll tell you about it in a second or two. Let's jump into the draft immediately. Any gut reactions, I think, outside of maybe the Victor last pick, a bit surprising for us?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that Victor should have been in the Sia and it would have worked better. It worked out fine in the game, not because I think that Victor did anything specifically.
Yeah, when you get fed a little bit, it helps.
The kills to them. But I actually think that Loud got away pretty good. You already had the Sia into the Kaiser pool. You get push. You have Nautilus into Rakan, who win the laning phase because of how the kills just each other. And that allowed them as well to play around. Guess what? Early game jungler too had really good priority around the mid lane on the Victor too, because Victor's very mobile, doesn't really allow much to happen. And top lane, as we predicted, was the only one that's going to struggle a bit. I kind of also go with the sentiment of a lot of people that giving Kiai and Kasante the matchup is already favored in going up against an Aatrox maybe not be the best idea.
Yeah, and I do think Gam's drafting was very smart around topside, banning the Renekton and Olaf and basically pushing him towards, with a counter pick, towards the Aatrox. Because at that point I was like, what else does he pick? Or willing to pick. So I thought it was really good drafting from Gam's side, and he just got punished overall.
I mean, listen, let's start at the beginning, and part of the reason why I was very happy with Loud until my angry outburst, I think their goal or their strategy of invading Levi, getting into that Nocturne's jungle, getting into his face over and over, it seemed to garner a lot of control for Loud, and I was quite excited about the Brazilians opening to this game.
You can see it here. This is the better draft from the bot lane coming through where you get the early priority, and this allows you to just move while the enemy AD carry is losing farm on the tower and even starting a slow push. Why they have a skirmish that's in favor of them, there's also Slater losing farm on the bot side while all this is happening. So even if you don't get a kill, it's still a win and you push Levi out. This also then allows them, after everything's come through, Levi's gone up to the top side. Well, guess what? Bush put, we have Slater on a reset, we can go for it again. So they just get their Lee Sin ahead, and the early game looks phenomenal for Loud in the beginning.
Yeah, and it's kind of, oh, I remember this moment.
Yes. I remember you specifically saying, oh no, Levi has no flash. Oh no, Levi's gonna die. Yes, he died.
And he didn't drag the red into the bush, but I was like, oh my god, that was a bit of a shock. So overall, great invade by Robo. Great overall strategy to be able to punch down towards Levi and make him really like far behind him in the game. In fact, his first ulti bot wasn't successful, and I think Levi was a bit tilted because even the first flash, there were a lot of moments where Levi in the early portions of the game were just not good.
Yeah, they should have been able to, and because of this next replay, this is where my anger comes from, and since you asked me to explain myself, every second counter is a reliable system. Survive the mid lane battle, secure themselves details, to turn around the game. And this was just one of many events where, in my opinion, I think Loud just overchased. They did too much. What do you think with it?
No, I'm completely with you as well, and obviously a bit of a Kasante moment, but still remember, you left this champion up. I think Crowd almost outplays it, just doesn't have the damage or follow-up yet from the team to come through with it, and then they continue on the engage. The hook from Zeus on the tower just allows Levi to come in here, and giving his double kill over to Levi is really what sends him back into the game. You spent your entire early game winning against Gam, and then you decided to say, wouldn't it be fun if we made Levi come back into the game and again?
Yeah, I like ballsy plays like that when you recognize and are aware of like, oh, they don't have flashes. This makes a lot of sense because we just saw them topside, so we have a time to, right? But they recognize that they still had flash. Thought they can outplay anyway. And that's when, as Drake was mentioned on the cast, it started to turn on. And plays after plays, Gam is starting to win out these fights.
And on the bottom lane, I remember Loud's trying to start off that initiation onto the Kaiser, sorry, and they didn't have Pallet anywhere nearby. Teleport still comes in. At the end of the day, mid laner Victor gets fed, and we just see time and time again these skirmishes going the way of
And I get it. Kiaya is playing Kasante, okay? We've seen what the champion does, but we also have to mention while he's off that Kiaya is absolutely phenomenal on this champion.
Yes.
He is absolutely carrying them in these team fights, and he's doing so much work. Like, this champion absolutely has to be banned against them, and he's one of the reasons why they win these fights. But even also the point that they got here was because Loud decided to 1-3-1 against the Nocturne, letting them come back into it after they gifted it. So I think Loud really fumbled the ball in this one where it could have been a way more even game.
And respect to Kiaya just in general, right? Like, sure, he has the Kasante. Honestly, he probably would just perform on any champion at this point. He's just been performing this tournament.
12K.
He was just so instrumental this game. The solo kill that he had top lane was 1 point. The 2-man knockup that he actually had multiple 2 to 3-man knockups. A lot of it was assisted by Nocturne, but in general, I think Kiaya was able to find moments that were able to turn fights for his squad. So he was blessed with the fact that Croc made the initial mistake, and that Loud continued to make those mistakes to get him back into the game, or his team back into the game, but he was always there to begin.
And also, let's give a lot of credit to Gam. I obviously have been pretty negative on Loud. I was hoping for a little bit more after that such a strong early game. Gam, on the flip side, I think a lot of those skirmishes, they did hold them on with a little better. I think Slater in particular, I came in with very low expectations, and let me not kid around. When you've got a Cassandra guy who's really good knocked down before, and if you pick your timing, it doesn't make it simple. But it was nice to see how much better he looked today, having up against him in comparison to last.
I also think it just shows that, you know, Slater's just needs to not end into Route, so Route gets ahead with the game, and if you go even against him, we have the rest of the map that plays very well, so there's no pressure on him whatsoever, as long as he can stay.
Closing thoughts before we go to ad break. Loud have selected blue side, so just before we go to ad break, get ready for game number 2. Final thoughts as we look ahead. Loud potentially on the precipice of being 2-0.
I don't think they changed too much in the draft. I really like the Xayah first pick, and I think the early game was really beneficial for them. So like, keep doing that. It's how you structure mid-game that needs to change for this team.
We'll see if they can fix it or if they are eliminated right here, right now. As a reminder, if you missed any of the action, you can check out all the VODs and highlights of Worlds 2023 over at youtube.com/gaming. We'll be right back with game number 2, Do or Die for Loud.
Loud.
Gives you wings. There are worse things.
just taking their time, wait for the charm. Easiest first blood setup ever. Commits to go over once again. Able to make it out safety. Pullback. Yeah, now going over for the follow-up. Pullback gonna come through. Now the Q2, Q3, big damage. And it goes follow-up. Dash up safety. Fancy. Oh, needs to get the reset. On the backside, maybe he can do it. Tino's going forward, wants to find the kill. But again, despite all of their efforts, Loud cannot find the angle, and it's all falling apart. They managed to get out, but they try to commit again.
Hope we get a different caster for game
where's
2.
Captain Flowers, actually?
Can he cast everything?
Dude, that dude's asleep.
Bet.
Yo, memes aside, shout out to Captain Flowers. Obviously, fantastic caster. Maokai, Jax, Poppy Renekton. So, more of the same here. Loud have said, so far in the bans,
Run it back.
Run it back. They take the Cassandre. And I respect it, but I don't think it's a champ diff in the top side. I think it was an execution diffy.
Yeah, because what if he plays Rumble again or something? Now, of course, Rumble's AP and it changes your comps and all that stuff, but it does feel like not what won the game necessarily. Though, I would say it was Loud's own plays that was why they didn't win the game. And so in that sense, you just remove something that maybe Robo had a little bit of a frustration against, and otherwise it seems like they are confident to run it back mostly the same. This time, instead, maybe not for the last part of the Zyro's combination.
I think it's also something that goes understated from the League of Legends is the mental jiu-jitsu you master as a coach to get your players to play. Sometimes you just have to say, yeah,
Yeah, guys, you definitely just hit the game away.
Cassandre was the issue. We got it in the next one.
You know what, the
That's what
Recon,
you gotta
got to get rid of it. Yep. I will also say Nautilus Death Fund went way up that game. 7 death, I believe it was, 4 at the end of that, and understandably, not wanting to do that again.
Yeah, I think the struggle right now that I'm having with the way this draft's playing out is you have secured Recon for yourself, but it does mean trading for the Rel, which is also another pretty high impact champion. And I think in general, I prefer the Xayah Kaisa matchup if you want to make the game about bottling, which I think both sides have been pretty content to do. That said, route with a more mobile champion, a champion that can protect itself, I would argue even better than Xayah in a lot of situations with that extra mobility, with the invisibility and the cleanse. Maybe he can take over this game.
Yeah, I think Xayah also slightly better lane phase, but if Rout's read is I win both sides of this matchup, I think I'm better than this guy in lane, and I feel like Kaisa, like you said, is maybe covering for some of Slater's late game playmaking, which is what Slater also popped off on in his series yesterday. Maybe this is a takeaway as well, saying, okay, this was annoying. So this time around, you know, they have just straight up stolen the bot lane of Gam from last game, saying we're going to pilot this better. The only difference is, Alec going to be on Rel, most likely, though of course, his flex still kind of.
Yeah, I think not necessarily. I mean, obviously, I play anything, but I would like to see him as more impactful, more selfish is generally what I want to see from Levi as a player. Maybe that's a fandom bias because I remember him in his heyday of playmaking, but I like what Loud put together now. I think the Jarvan is an excellent addition. It was obviously banned the previous pick ban phase by Loud to stop Gam from getting it later in the game. That's why they went for the Nocturne, but when you have a Xayah on the enemy team, it's nice. And in general, maybe this is one of those play-in champions that doesn't see more play at this stage, I'm not sure, but this champion is a little damn.
It's also a champion that can get outplayed if you're on top of your stuff. So I like the Syndra takeaway here to play into, because you can knock him out of his EQ combination. It will come up very quickly again once you have 2 items, but it's usually pretty late in the game.
But you can also buffer Jarvan and outplay the Syndra. If you're trapped, I don't actually think you can do it intentionally.
No, the Syndra has to eat early, because if you are in your Q animation, it's not that hardest for you.
Once the drag has begun, you can interrupt it on reaction.
But that's something that Kadi was probably going to be able to do because he looked fantastic on the Victor. He seemed on point that game. It was one of the question marks of the draft. Not big.
Yeah, that was the pick we were most skeptical about. So I think we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt this time around. Nico and Orianna banned away, trying to limit the safer control mage option. Orianna, one of the power picks of the patch overall. Clearly not powerful enough to be blinded in all situations, but definitely still a high-tier, S-tier mid laner.
Yeah, I think some of the weaknesses of Orianna still exist, which is with a lot of engaged tools. Her only defense is I have a ball on my head kind of quick, and that can still be punched through. So no surprise. As well, individually, like you said, with the J4, you can stun him out of it, and Kadi, most play champion, is the Syndra, so cool to see him back on that. Here we get the Wukong, also most played for Levi, so they're going back to a lot of comfort picks here. Actually, all these are their most played through Summer Split for Gam thus far.
Gam, maybe just trying to close it out clean. Playful for comfort, playful for execution. A lot of the game was just about individual skill.
Ooh.
With the Olaf, it was banned previously. This time around, Robo's going to get a shot at it.
Trouble with the
You can do the Jarvan Thunderdome combo where you lock someone in with the Olaf.
Or lock him out. And
lock him out.
Rage ping at your teammate.
Yep, Olaf's natural counter is a wall. Can't do it, hasn't been able to do it as long as he's been a champion. 27, I'm sure they'll rework some almost 6 dash take.
But that's Ghost Man.
They're putting a lot of walls together to have an Olaf on their team. That's the only thing I will say. So again, we're in a situation where Loud has put a high burden of execution. I respect it, but I am concerned.
They've opted into all this blind. We don't actually know what PI is playing yet. Of course, this is a pretty frustrating composition to play against because if you take something range like a Gnar, let's say, if you go for that, yeah, you might be able to survive individually against Robo. You might be able to use one active plan that you play for ramp so you don't chase down full lane. But then you're in mini Gnar when tons of resources are going to be flying up topside. That can help, like you said, lock the Gnar in with the Olaf, and then you have nowhere to go. So this is going to be a very high-pressure game on PI here. They are sending all those resources top, most likely. Route sales are going to be free-farm on the bot side, while Talia and Jarvan try to blow the top side of the map. What this game plan is looking like.
I think overall, Loud feel like they have a bit more of a stable composition. Certainly some more agency for Route in this game to follow up on the plays that his teammates are making rather than just having to be a sole backliner. Gam have a fantastic wombo combo with this Wukong, Gnar, Rel. It's super disgusting if they can make it work. And I'll be honest, looking at their regional games, they can make it work. So Loud going to have to play with a certain level of respect, be diligent on their vision control. This is a game where I expect one team will just take over in the early game because we haven't really seen a close early game from these teams yet. It's been super dominant from one side or the other.
No, and once again, it's a similar story as the previous game where Loud will have a lot of the tools in their back pocket to do that early game, however they want to do it. And there will be reactions coming out of the game. The difference is where that pressure is going to be going. A lot of it was on the bot side, it was on the weak side, just trying to survive. This time around, it's all going to be going to the top side. So different location of the game plan, but largely still a similar game plan of wanting to snowball early, because if you're not able to do that, Olaf is going to have a really tough time team fighting into the rest of the game.
Yeah. Tricky. I think it's tough when we come to a game like this. I think the best thing you can do as a fan and as a viewer is kind of reset expectations of the game. Take the count for more in the game. Assume that everyone's coming back full steam ahead. If it happens, it happens. But I think that was kind of the biggest question coming out of game one. It's like, yeah, you can run it back. You can pick a composition to tie execution, but we're going to be skeptical.
Yeah, to be fair, both these teams have had moments that are brilliant, moments that come up before game in their first series. But that maybe not out the bot lane, game's over, and you never know what's going to happen. So I think this is a very interesting game.
While this game is full of unknowns, one thing that's not unknown is what you get if you connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming. It's you're going to get an exclusive emote, this experimentation. So, do that.
I'm a bigger fan.
Guaranteed input, guaranteed output, unlike League of Legends. Solo queue, are you guaranteed to get help? No, not so much. Guaranteed for your Prime account? Guaranteed to be upset. Solo queue, true.
Guaranteed to a rage flash. Ooh. Passive filtered.
No, it's not. Don't do that. Obey the summoner's code.
That's still a thing. I haven't made a new account in a while to see what the process is.
What do you mean? You have one account.
Surely no one has other accounts.
No. You have one account. That's how it works. Robo on the top side, ready to contest the top side red buff start that is not happening.
I thought he might be just going to steal it away. They had enough vision down where they have a ward to know that there's no one up there. It does take some time. It doesn't have teleport. But you can do some cheeky stuff with those level 1s on Olaf. If you want to just steal a red buff away, get low, run back to the lane, red buff heal up as well. Like, you can do some of that stuff, but not wanting to go full send on that cheese. Instead, just shows back up the lane to get the next kill.
An awkward early lane. It was not off the genius. It obviously goes and gets what he's done here. Olaf gets axes and willing to run through that entire mana bar, as we might see right here, can just obliterate you in the early trade. But a whiffy on that axe is costing him.
Still not too bad. If you can land the action and chase them down, you can proc bone plating to make sure that you have the ability in the future to actually go ahead and do that. So I do like playing the matchup aggressively like that. You're going to trade back, but of course, Olaf, when he gets lower, actually gets bonuses for getting low. So your mind controlling him into hitting you.
Are you telling me you're rewarded for losing trades?
Those are my favorite kind of champions.
You Very good. Anyway, goes in the passing, red buff bandit, quick flash out from Levi. And again, Croc in these early levels, doing good, leveraging his champion's early strengths well. Keep it going, Croc. Don't lose track. Don't get lost in the sauce.
I mean, that's exactly what you want to see. We talked about the pressure that's going to be on the top side of the map and how it's going to be going to Robo, but you can also use that pressure to go for invade. Jarvan is an exceptionally good champion at that. Burn, Levi, Splash. Not like long to be super proactive to save jungler anyways, but just putting him on the back, but putting him behind, getting that red buff away. Knows, I think, have the inside track there before now. So you can see them work together now with a 3-man pincer.
Clean League of Legends. You get bot prio, you got jungle advantage, you're gonna flash, you get the slow burst. Now trying to go for the knockup, gonna fish for the knockback. Caddy snowing against flash. Safety instantly EQ in the flick back. Oh my god, Loud! That was clean as hell.
The patience out of the Loud members to just run them down. Croc landing EW slow. I love it. Flash W on top and hold your EQ for the actual stun so he can't flash your CC. That was really, really well done.
Same thing in the Ari game where they just walk at you menacingly and it's like burn your disengage ability or die. And in this case, he burned his disengage ability and died. Fantastic.
Did cost some resources, but some of your absolute assets. You put the Syndra on the back end. One of those areas where if you can break the India out, she's roaming all over the map. It's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to get trapped in this lane phase versus the Syndra. And now, eventually, they'll be able to get this up to the top side. Really, really great play out of Croc and Sale. The combination there was incredible.
Yep. Again, credit to Loud. A lot of these early games are so clean. Leveraging whatever pressure they have. In this game, it's top lane, and last game, bot lane to invade, put pressure on Levi, who has been playing a lot of these level 6 junglers to slow him down, transition that pressure into the mid lane, and in this case, 2 games in a row, essentially do the exact same play, but flipped, coming from the top side instead of the bottom side, finding that kill in the mid lane, setting themselves up for early success. Name of the game now, question on being Loud's fans, sure is, can they transition into this?
This is something as a fan that can be extra frustrating when you see the high points end up in winning positions to then later fall out of them. It's not just we weren't good enough or we got rolled the whole time. It's this like bitter regret of we could have won that game 1. We could be 1 game up right now and on the verge of moving to the promotion match into the main stage, the advancement match, excuse me, tomorrow.
It feels like
You did a good job, you get a promotion.
yeah.
Good myth.
Woo! That's going to be an interesting fill topic. We're going to save that one.
You don't want to touch that one? You don't like
No.
that hot potato I threw at you?
No, no. You know, I'll leave that one for somebody else to touch on. 10 ounce, touching on these minions, pushing them in, making his way down mid is Robo. I think he'll have to wander back top of the closing wave. Yeah, I was starting to push. But early boots too is no surprise. Of course, Kiaya looks like we do the same. And all is quiet across the map.
Level 6 coming in from Tinos, though, does mean this is the part of the game where you will hopefully start jumping on top of Kiaya, or at least comboing with Jarvan in some capacity to make a play. Here this is yet again, just taking another look at this one. Like we said, just really heads up play. If you EQ in first, you get buffered out of it by Kati's E, so you just flash W and start autoing with red buff. That gives also a gap close for Steos to land up for the Ignite, and finally Kati has to flash away, and that's when you do your EQ combo. So just super, super well done. Love seeing that out of the team. Heads up play, knowing what the enemy's options are and covering all of them.
Yeah, and there was really no right choice for Kati there. I think maybe even the flash you could debate he didn't need to burn just to kind of accept his fate. Because the second the Rakan W's in, you're essentially saying, all right, use your ability now, or Jarvan will EQ after. So as long as you have 2 forms of CC there, there is actually no counterplay for Kati. There's nothing that can be done as long as Loud don't accidentally stack their abilities.
Or horribly miss them. Yeah.
Or horribly miss them. As one ability goes wide, but the Flag and Drag will not. Pallet still